Here we go. It's Friday, the 20th of May. It's around lunchtime. This is the GTV video blog for today. Today's subject is going to be etymology. Etymology is the study of language. Why the study of language? Language is important because of the way that we communicate in society, using words to transmit ideas from our brain, from our mind, from our consciousness into other people's consciousness, or sometimes the subconsciousness. That is, if you agree that there is a difference between the consciousness and the subconsciousness. Some will agree that they have been separated, but there's not really a huge difference between them. So language, well, we could look at the technical aspects of language. We could look at where the elements of pronunciation come from. We could look at position of the mouth, the throat, the tongue, the teeth, the lips, how air travels through the body, how the vibrations are created in the throat. We could look at the different sounds in the different languages, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to look at words and our ideas of words and the meanings of words. So let's dive in and we'll see how far we get today. I thought I'd start with words connected with schools, teaching, learning. So we try to get an understanding of what is really happening in that area of our life. So we start with the word professor. This is according to online etymology. You can check this in any etymological dictionary. I advise you go and do it. When you want to look up the meaning of a word, you can use a normal dictionary, but you really want to go for the etymology, the origin of the word. This is important for understanding, not how the word is today, but how the word became what it means today. If you look back to elements of history, what you will find is that very often words change their definitions. All their definitions are changed slowly over time, and this is very important because this changes our understanding of ideas. This changes our understanding of elements such as freedom within society, how the word freedom has developed and changed, or liberty, what that really means. Anyway, let's get into it. Professor. One who professes to be an expert in some art or science, teacher of the highest rank. To lay claim to or to openly declare, from profess, to openly declare. Short form prof, dates from 1838, originally 1706. Professor. Now think about where we use professor. We use professor for doctors, for teachers in universities. Think about that. Professor. Profession. Early 13th century. Vows taken upon entering a religious order, a philosophy, a way of thinking. Of course, from professionem, public declaration, from professus, see profess, meaning occupation one professes to be skilled in. Body or persons engaged in some occupation. A euphemism for the oldest profession, which is, it's coming, prostitution. Yes. The professor, the teacher, is synonymous with the prostitute for many different reasons. Profess, the root of the word, to profess, to take a vow, to promise something, to follow a set of ideas within a religious order. To declare publicly, again, acknowledge, or confess. Speaking, declared openly, first recorded in the 1520s. Professing. So think about this. Think about this from the concept of the idea of a school, or even a teacher. And I've got some more interesting words related to schools here. I could go into other areas. Let's stay with schools. Let's stay with schools and see what I got here. Okay. School. Our first meaning is obvious, so I'm not going to go into it. But let's look at the other meanings of school. A group of fish or other animals. Think about that. A group of fish or other animals. How many times, in what context do we use the word school? Of course, we use it for the learning environment, but there's a second meaning here. Now you gotta. It doesn't really take much to stretch my imagination to see that somebody somewhere is perhaps trying to draw parallels between these two elements. But you know, you can decide for yourself. But you know, looking at the way that people are treated within society, the way that the fish move and travel, the way that their relationship to each other, it's quite interesting to find us in an environment where in one sense we're defined as animals. True, a sense if we're animals, then we don't have any rights, do we? So that's key from a rights attitude perspective. Say you're at university, then you want to check out some information about seminars, to where you go to get information, get some learning. Well, let's take the word seminary. Seminary. From seminarium, a plant nursery, a breeding ground. From seed, from semen, seminus, seed. The original point of the information. So we see some root sexual language entering into it. Training for priests. Training for priests. Again, we have this religious context there. Academies for young ladies as well. 1580s seminary. Seminary student, an academy for young ladies. Okay, let's move on to if we're going to study language, you're going to go to school, then maybe you go to a grammar school, or you need to study the language. Now, one of the roots of language is grammar, the map of language, the organization of the words. So here we go. Grammar. Early 14th century. Grammar meaning magic. Think about that. Magic. Incantations. Spells. To spell. Spells. Also mumbo jumbo. Irregular, semi-popular adoption of the language. The art of letters. Let's go back to that. Incantation, spells, magic. It's really, really spiritual concept and idea there. That grammar is able to change people, to direct people, to cause them to do things. Art of letters with a sense of both philology and literature in the broadest sense. Adjective from gramma, letter, stem from to draw or write. A craft. We're getting into that idea of religion, of spirituality again there with a craft. Also the idea of travel as well. Think about stagecraft, witchcraft, the craft of traveling. So you see what we're doing with words here. We're realizing that there's a double meaning going on in almost everything we look at. There's a double meaning happening there. Restrictions to the rules of language, a post-classical development. Learning in general, peculiar to the learned classes, or the learned classes, as they were also called, early 14th century, because there were those who learned the profound, and then there was the profane, those who were just left to try to fend for themselves in society. Grammar also related to astrology, music, hence secondary meaning of grammar, occult knowledge. Occult knowledge. And here's a strange little fact that evolved in Scottish into glamour. Glamour. Grammar evolved into glamour. Glamour. And you think about glamour, I think there's a magazine called Glamour. It's a fashion magazine. Fashion. To fashion is to change something into how you wish it to be, to alter it from the original. Then, of course, we have grammarian, who's a student, writer, learned man, grammarian, wise man. In Latin, a magician. A magician. Can you see the concept there with teaching and learning? I mean, even if you go into the offshoot ideas, such as what pops into my head is modern culture. Harry Potter and the school there. You can see similar elements developing. Also derived from the origins of grammar, grimoire, a magician's manual for invoking demons. And this all comes from grammar, so it's quite interesting. I mentioned spell. So spell as a noun. Also, before I take a step back, we're going to think about prefixes and suffixes, what you add at the beginning, what you add at the end to change a word. Take grammar, you can root it into gram, you see weights and measures of things, add a prefix, pentagram. So we're very quickly getting into religious context here with language, very quickly in the history. So glamour I mentioned, which also has an idea of magical beauty and alluring charm, according to my notes. Anyway, spelling. To spell, we consider normally as to pronounce or read the letters in a word to make the word clear. So a spell is actually incantation or charm. Incantation, again, into magic. A report, a discourse, a tale, a set of words with magical powers. We tend to think of grammar as quite a boring subject, but when we get into the finer elements of it, and if you extend it out into concepts such as neuro-linguistic programming, and you look at the work of oh my God, what's his name? He was considered the father of NLP. Milton Erickson, is it? I think. Might be right, might be wrong. Or even right through the work of Darren Brown. It's very interesting, very intriguing. Set of words with magical powers, incantation, charm. The term spell is generally used for magical procedures which cause harm or force people to do something against their will. See how grammar is being used to change things. Of course, it can be used in a positive way as well. I'm emphasizing the negative because it's there. Anything can be used for positive or negative purposes. You've got a knife in the kitchen. You can use it to cut your bread. You can use it to spread things on the bread, or you can use it to stick into somebody if you want. We've got that choice with everything. That's why it's important to allow people to have these choices. You can't come down and tell people, oh, you can't carry knives around on the street because you could be a criminal or something. My God, everyone's got the right to defend themselves. If you don't have the right to defend yourself, then you don't have any rights at all. And that's a fundamental point there. We can't look at spelling without going into other languages as well. I mentioned a charm, it's a magical spell. And then we get into words like gospel, which is actually God's spell. Gospel, the writings of religion or the Bibles. God's spell, happy tidings, announcements, informations related to Jesus and God. See also good. God and good are synonymous. And that's why there are a lot of links in language. Say when you say goodbye, you're actually saying God bye, or God by to as in by God, with God, to go with God. And that's about all we have time for. That was a little bit of etymology, and we'll pick things up again soon. Thanks.